So, I've been talking about comic books quite a bit lately, and that's because we're at a really interesting point in history when it comes to comic books. Right? The comic book industry is in really bad shape. Really bad shape. I don't know, I don't know how else to say it. The comic book industry is probably going to collapse. I see a lot of people out there trying to rebuttal that, but I just really don't think that there's any saving the comic book industry. I think the industry is just on its way out. It's sad to say and it's sad to see. Comics have been around forever, but what can you do? They refuse to make any changes. They don't want to make any changes at all. They just want to keep on sinking the ship. And if you think it's been bad for the past couple of years, this year things are going to get real bad because of the election, because it was the previous one that drove everybody in the industry insane. You thought it was bad then, it's going to get even worse now. But the difference between 2016 and this year is there was still maybe a little bit of life left then. They've pretty much just ran it into the ground over the past couple of years. Now, Marvel and DC, well, more so Marvel, has been doing okay on some books. For the most part, though, they're still putting out crap. A lot of crap. DC, AT&T just bought Warner Brothers. The big thing going around now is Warner Brothers is trying to trim the fat. One of the big areas you can trim out is DC comic book publishing. You don't really need these characters anymore. You don't really need the books. You can license them out to Dark Horse or something. They already have deals with Dark Horse. Dark Horse, you want to do Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman comics? Cool. We're just going to keep doing animated movies and movies like Joker and Batman. I mean, they're doing good, other than Birds of Prey on the movie side. They're doing all right. So, where does that leave comics? You don't really need them for proving grounds. You can get talent, real Hollywood talent. Well, what there is of Hollywood talent. Though I would say arguably most of their movies have been pretty decent other than Justice League and Birds of Prey. I think they've really turned that ship around over there. But this is a really good example right here. So I have this pulled up. Mariko Tamaki is taking over Wonder Woman. And this is a really good example of why comic books are in such a bad place. So a lot of the shill sites are out there pushing this. Yeah, Mariko Tamaki taking over Wonder Woman. She's a terrible writer. Okay. She did She-Hulk. If you are familiar, there's a new She-Hulk that everyone's been memeing and making fun of because she looks like the male version of Hulk and acts like the male version of Hulk. When she used to be her own unique, interesting character. She used to be, a very unique character. She was very proud of what she looked like because she considered herself a little bit of an ugly duckling. And when she became She-Hulk, she felt sexy. And not just that, she was an interesting character, and I would argue a good female character because she was a lawyer, went to Supreme Court and stuff. She was an interesting character. She was her own character. And then, these creatively bankrupt NPCs got into the comic book industry and said, we're going to make her just like regular Hulk. And pretty much now she's just a copy of Bruce Banner. That's it. You can thank Mariko Tamaki for that because when she wasn't hulking out, her and her buddies were sitting around in coffee shops and just eating all the time and watching cooking shows. That's literally what they were doing in that book. It sold terribly. It was a horrible book. It sold horribly, and it really needed to be put out to the pasture a long time ago. But in the comic book industry, if you have the right politics, if you have the right ways of thinking, you can go far. It has very little to do with talent. Even the artists nowadays are cheap. Yeah, they're getting them off Tumblr and all of these other little outlets. They're not really paying for good art. So, Mariko Tamaki is now feeling upward, taking over Wonder Woman, which I would argue is a very high-profile book over at DC. So she went from low sales on some other books to a flagship title over at DC Comics. This is a good reason why the comic book industry is in such bad shape because, it doesn't matter how much you sell. It doesn't matter the quality. All that matters is if you're in the club, if you're in the group, if you've got the right way of thinking and your politics are on point, you can go far in the comic book industry. You just got to get into the club, lick the right boots, you're in. So one of the reasons that prompted me to make this video in the first place is because Jim Lee made this announcement on his Twitter, and I thought it was interesting. Jim Lee is a great artist. I wish so. He's like main dude in charge now at DC Comics. He is the big publisher. Dan Didio is gone. It's just Jim Lee now. Jim Lee's running the show, and he's still the chief creative officer. And I think Jim Lee is a massive talent. Probably the best, if not in the top 5 American comic book artists. Probably, living currently. And I would argue he's probably in the top 10 of all time. I think he's an amazing artist, one of my favorite. He announces he's doing a variant cover for issue 759 when Tamaki takes over. Beautiful looking cover. I mean, he hasn't lost his touch at all. I think he's a really cool guy. I like Jim Lee. I just don't think he's the best guy to run DC Comics because he's more of a creator. You really need somebody that can put their foot down on these people and have a business sense. I don't think that's Jim Lee, but maybe he'll prove me wrong. I don't know. Anything he's doing now has probably already been set in motion. We'll see how the guy does. But he announces this. And I want to show you something. So Mariko Tamaki's Twitter handle's over there. If I try to follow it, I can't because I've been blocked. I've never really interacted with her. I don't really bother people too much on Twitter. I just don't. I'd rather just criticize and make my videos, like I'm doing now. But I can't follow her. So, you've got 2,000 likes on here, 331 retweets. Pretty good promotion. But you got a lot of people coming in. Like, you got Literature Devil here, not buying it from anyone who has me blocked. You got this comment right here. I'm blocked. I bought her entire Hulk run. This is some MFing BS. And you've got a lot of other people making this, these weird blockchains. Jim, I'd be inclined to support this project if your artists didn't have me blocked for some unknown reason. I've tried to look up many of your writers to view their work, and I'm noticing a trend. These weird chains are costing you guys money. So, aside the fact that she probably wrote one of the worst She-Hulk runs in the history of comic books, if you wanted to look these people up, most of them have me blockchain. Now, I talked about this yesterday. Dan Slott, blockchained, pretty much all bound into comics. There was a list going around. I'm on it where they block people. So if you're in the comic book industry, they pass this little list of Twitter users around. And what they do is they go to these websites and they run blockchains. So every single person that follows me, probably Ethan Van Sciver, yes, he is on that list, and a few other people, you're automatically blocked. Doesn't matter if you interact, if you just want to follow, whatever, you're gone. And I would argue that's losing business. You're losing your customers, and this is a problem. These people will just block customers. They treat customers like garbage, and most of them aren't really that talented. It's just a loss of more sales, a loss of more customers. Who are you helping by doing that? You're not helping your company, You're not helping foster good relationships with customers. All you're doing is rubbing people the wrong way, and it's really not the best way to run a business, but they don't care. They just do it anyway. And then you have people at the top like Jim Lee, C.B. Cebulski over at Marvel. They do nothing. If anything, they double down and they laugh at you. Oh, ha, 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 ha. Oh, you mad? You mad, bro? You can't follow them? They don't understand. And I've never seen this in any other industry. It's mostly Hollywood as a whole, but it's arguably, in my opinion, the worst in the comic book industry. I've never seen such an arrogant group of creators than when I met comic book pros. They're terrible people. I haven't seen Mariko Tamaki because, you can just see it all under an incognito tab. You can go and look at anybody, but I've never seen her interact badly with people, but it's just the fact that she just blocks people. And this is a trend among the entire industry. So I don't know. They're never going to change. They're doubling down on everything they've been doing wrong for the past couple of years. The customer base shrinks every year. They're trying to prop up comic book sales right now by throwing manga graphic novels. You get the manga collections, right? You know what I'm talking about. It's like literally collected issues of manga. They're trying to throw those in now with the comic book sales. And I'm sorry, but the success of My Hero Academia manga volumes aren't That's not realistic. That's not helping the comic book industry. That's like saying Toyota helps Ford. It doesn't. So it's really interesting to me. I think this is going to be a do or die year for comic books, and I don't see this. I really just don't see an upward trend going to just pop out of nowhere. Quality's not getting better. You still have people like Dan Slott, telling customers to F off. You have them blocking people like Mariko here. I mean, this would have been a really good time for her to jump in and say, yeah, I'll be the writer. It's going to be this. I'm so excited for the story I'm telling. But too bad, half of the people can't even see what you're saying. So anyway, that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think the comic book industry can rebound? Do you care if you're blocked by these people? I'd like to know what you have to say about that. Also, if you would, throw a like up. That'd be pretty cool. Share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, take a moment. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. There's something going on right now, and they've been unsubscribing people. So just take a second and double check on that and subscribe if you're new.